Hi there, my name is Fred Carnowit. Today I'm going to show you how to wrap lines for control line model airplanes, and this is using either a braided or a solid line with the copper wire and the eyelet. Now to do this you need to keep everything nice and tight, and it requires more than two hands if you're doing this by yourself. So because of this, I came up with this device, and it looks kind of strange, but what it does is you put the eyelet on here. This eyelet goes on this pin and it's held. The wire comes out here, goes underneath, and there's rubber on the back side of this and then on the side of this, and so as the wire comes through and you clamp this down, it's held nice and tight so it can't move. So then you can do it with two hands. Now this piece is a 2x2, so it goes into the vise, so then this is nice and firm. So now what you do is, so you have this loose. So you take your line, and this could either be solid or it could be braided, and it really doesn't matter. But you want enough passed in here so that it can wrap around and come back underneath here. And so tighten this down, because what we're trying to do is keep this from moving. So that your eyelet goes on the pin, and then you wrap around the eyelet twice, and this is where you have to get, what you want to do is hold, this is where it gets a little slick, loosen the thumb screw, and pull these two as tight as you can. You want to get that as tight as you can. What we're trying to do, without kinking the lines, we have to wrap this section with copper wire. So now that's the whole point of this, is so that you don't have to hold all that. Now the 18 inches of copper wire. Now what I like to do is I like to wrap around here, because that tail that's coming up here, I'm going to use that later on at the end. Now when you first start wrapping this, try to snug it up as best you can up against the eyelet. That makes for a better wrap. So what I'm doing is I'm wrapping around here, and about every 4 or 5 turns, push it up tight against the eyelet. So you start to see a nice spiral here. If you make the copper wire too long, it makes it difficult to get around all this. So now we start to see the spiral come up. And notice where it's up tight against the eyelet. Now this can rise up and down which is okay, but I tend to hold it. Now the AMA rules say you need 5/8 of an inch to be on the safe side. Always pull test your lines after you are done to make sure they're safe to fly. Okay, so now after you have 5/8 of an inch, I'm just kind of eyeballing it for this demo, then I like to have the copper wire come off that direction, which you'll see here in a minute. Hold the flying line tight, spin that around, take your part that's coming around, keep the flying line in between the rubber, keep it nice and tight, tighten that down. Now it won't damage your line because it's just a rubber, but this is nice and tight. Now we're going to double this back. It's going to be bent back this way. I'm also going to push it through this little intersection. Kind of hard to see. Okay, so that comes back this way. Now you've got the wire double backed over here. And then what you do, now we're going to wrap the other direction. Again, you want to keep a nice tight wrap. And because the wood blocks and rubber are holding everything, it's making this a little bit easier. There's probably other ways to do this, but I like this because I can do it by myself and I don't have to rely on someone else to help me to do this. What we're coming up to here, now it's got the double wrap. Okay, so now you have, so we just finished wrapping that, and with a little bit of practice you'll get a nice tight spiral. I'm still getting better at that. Now you got two pieces of copper wire. You have your original wire that was around here, and then the wire you just finished over here. So now we're going to take these two, and wrap those up nice and tight. And then you can cut, get back here. You can cut that off. You're left with this, which you bend back this way. A little 5-minute epoxy over this will keep that little guy from moving on you. And I need a different pair of pliers to really trim this off. But trim off your other piece. And there you have it. Do that. Now you have that there. I still have this little piece. Where is it? Right there. That guy's nice and sharp. I need to trim him off and then put the 5-min epoxy over all this. Pull test it, and then you're good to go. Talk to you later. Bye.